Alright, so Unkalaev just picked up his biggest win in his entire career against Alexander Rakic. I think we all know that. Now, with that being said, a lot of people are saying that he deserves a title shot. Come on, guys. I mean, come on. I think we got to talk about, what earns a title shot these days, I'm still looking at that loss to Paul Craig, That was fairly recent, guys, alright? So we need to get Ankalaev back in the winning column here, because how good is Rakic really, you know? So I think that this video is going to be pandered towards the people who are looking for what's next for Unkalaev, because I hear some grapevine things like, oh, fight, Alex Pereira, but like, come on, like, we gotta at least have him on a good winning streak here, he's gotta earn that title shot, just like Khalil Roundtree did, alright? So in order to do that, I've devised a list here with a few names that I think would give Ankalaev the respect that he deserves, in order, might I add, to help with, getting Unkalaev that entertaining spot in that #1 contender category. Now, to start with, of course, we gotta have the rematch. Hey, what a warrior fight that was. The leg kick battle, we gotta see it. Jan Blachowicz versus Unkalaev. We need to see it now, alright? We need to see that next. I'm thinking next October. I think that makes sense, that's kind of when Unkalaev wants to fight, and if he wants to fight under his terms, of course, we got to give him the Jan Blachowicz, at least let Unkalaev win against a former contender here, guys. I mean, that's only fair, right? So, Jan Blachowicz, he also needs a sparring partner. I think, there's some questions that need answering, right? Like, I mean, if you can't get past Jan Blachowicz, can you really fight for the title here, guys? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's fair that Jan Blachowicz is like the top 5 gatekeeper, and I haven't seen Unkalaev really fight a top 5 contender. Just saying, alright? Just saying. So, I think we need Jan Blachowicz. I think we book it 2025 October. And then after that, I think after the Jan Blachowicz fight, assuming he wins, of course, and doesn't get a boring draw, him looking like shit for one of the rounds, just past trauma, I guess. But outside of that, I think the next logical fight, guys, that we need to make here, once he wins against Jan Blachowicz, no doubt by a nice 50-45 decision, let's just assume a perfect world here. Guys, he's trying to become a champion here. He's got to promote himself a little bit. So I think it's fair we give him Jamal Hill. Now, why Jamal Hill over Yuri Prohaska? Well, I do think Yuri Prohaska, he's got his own pathway to go through, but I think Jamal Hill still needs to prove something. And what that is the #1 contender. So I think a #1 contender bout between Jamal Hill, Unkalaev, I think that makes sense. I think we should book it right after the Jan Blachowicz fight in October. Now, I do think Jamal Hill will probably get a title shot in that time, and then he'll lose, and then he'll be back in the, well, we don't know if he's that good yet, so I think 2026 October is where we're looking at this fight, after Alex Pereira is finally retired, and the thoughts of him coming back because Ankalaev's the one saying, you're running from me. Yeah, okay, buddy. But, whenever that happens, I think we have Jamal Hill step in for the #1 vacant belt, I guess, what is it called these days? The interim belt, if you will. I think it'll be Jamal Hill, Unkalaev. I think we need to see that match. And then once Unkalaev gets his interim belt, guys, and then Alex Pereira is going to come back in his 40s. I'm thinking we do Khalil Roundtree. Now, hear me out, hey, guys, Khalil Roundtree's done the best against Pereira, alright? I think there's no better man than Khalil Roundtree to test Unkalaev, to see if he's even ready for a Pereira matchup, guys, alright? I think it's fair if we give Khalil Roundtree his, top 5 fight that he wants off Anthony Smith and losing to Pereira. I think it's totally fair we give that to Khalil Roundtree against an Unkalaev, after Unkalaev has the interim belt, of course. Now, when Khalil Roundtree fights Unkalaev, we gotta assume a couple things. #1, we gotta assume Alex Pereira is still fighting. Now, this fight would probably take place, considering it is Unkalaev, let's say 2027 October. And Pereira's approaching 40, or he's a little over that 40 hill by now. Rough times for Pereira, but he is still a dominant champion. I think Khalil Roundtree would be that guy to give Unkalaev a test by then. No doubt Khalil Roundtree is going to wait out for this one, golden opportunity. I think it's worth it, for Khalil Roundtree. Totally worth it. So I do think that right after Unkalaev beats Jamal Hill, I think we book him against the Khalil Roundtree. I mean, we got to prove if he's a dangerous striker, because that's what the Khalil Roundtree test is, really, if you think about it. You got to be more dangerous than Khalil Roundtree. Before, this is just about, beating another guy, finding out a number one contender, and then this one's to see if you're even able to beat someone in their 40s, okay? But Khalil Roundtree is really to test his danger, and to see if he's good enough to be dangerous towards Alex Pereira. Because, let's be honest, guys, I mean, if you're not dangerous, why the fuck are you even fighting Pereira in the first place? Am I right? So, once he beats Khalil Roundtree, no doubtably by the most spectacular 50-45 of his entire career, we move on to a fight I think makes a lot of sense. In order to get to the king of the Brazilians, you got to fight his old guard, and I think we got to see the Glover Teixeira come out of retirement in his 50s, October 2029, all right? I think this is where we book it. Glover Teixeira versus Unkalaev. I think we make the main event, probably Abu Dhabi, because at this point, we're probably going to Abu Dhabi every fucking month, all right, UFC? I'm getting fucking tired of it. Anyways, that aside, I do think we got to see Glover Teixeira versus Unkalaev to really prove if Unkalaev is able to beat Brazilians, guys. I mean, his track record with Brazilians isn't too good. Illegally kneeing Johnny Walker totally was an illegal knee. So we got to take that into account here. So obviously he would probably get DQ'd in this fight, and then we would have to postpone it till a 2030 at this point for Unkalaev, considering his record at this point. And, Glover Teixeira, I think, would give some grappling questions to Unkalaev. Now, we know Unkalaev's a wrestler, right? A little bit. He shoots the takedowns when he needs to nut hug, all right? But, when that happens, I think we got to figure out if he can really beat Teixeira. Now, after he goes on this 4-fight streak that I've posted for him here, I do think it's very fair that he would be the number one contender. But at this point, we need a test to see. At this point, he's holding the interim belt. Alex Pereira is 42. He's about to retire as the greatest combat athlete of all time, right after knocking out John Jones. Now, as this is happening, we got to see Unkalaev versus Shamil the Blob Gaziev. Now, hear me out here. I think Shamil's got a real good case here. Once Shamil gets into the gym and he starts losing a little bit of that blob, becomes more Shamil, this guy's looking at a number one contender spot at this point, all right? We're talking about 2030 here. Former volleyball player, if you didn't know, absolute Giga Chad Shamil the Blob Gaziev. Only loss, really, to Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I think he goes on a real run here. I think he gets through Ozdemir, and then after an Ozdemir, probably gets through a Rakic. After a Rakic, maybe smokes even like a, Jamal Hill or something, right? And then once he's at that level, we're looking at Shamil Gaziev versus Unkalaev for that interim belt, all right? While Alex is already taking care of business at heavyweight, all right? And Shamil doesn't want fucking anything to do with Pereira, so he's going to go for a winnable fight, an Unkalaev. So I think we need to see it, because how good is Unkalaev if he can't deal with a guy who's really tall, right? Like, we're looking at a 6'3" Shamil Gaziev here, Dangerous dude, Before then, you're fighting 6'2", 6'1", okay, 6'4". So, really, we need to see the test of the grappling here, right? We need to see how well Unkalaev does against a tall grappler. Because we all know Jamal Hill's a tall striker, right? So in this 6-year time span, this would probably be October 2032 at this point. It is Unkalaev. He'd probably sneeze, and then they call off the Abu Dhabi card entirely just for him. So we are looking at a Shamil the Blob Gaziev versus Unkalaev, number one contender belt. And I think after he's done this, after Shamil's on a 20-1, record here, probably a 7-fight win streak, 8-fight win streak, whatever it may be. But I think we need to see it. Shamil versus Unkalaev. I think we need to see it. Book it. UFC Abu Dhabi, October 25th. 2020 or 2032. I think that's when we see it. And then once he gets past this test, I think we can finally admit Ankalaev is the #1 contender. And then we give him the title shot. And then we can see if he's good enough to beat Alex Pereira. Now, right before the fight happens, I think it's fair enough. Pereira retires, becomes the GOAT of the sport. Unkalaev sends him some text message, a little cringe, and says, oh, I've got better teeth than you. See you Saturday night. You know, I'm the better fighter, you know. And then he decides to come back to fight Unkalaev, and Unkalaev gets smoked because he thinks he can strike against Alex Pereira. I think that's predictions. I think we need to lock it in, and I do think we need to see these matchups. You know, Jan Blachowicz, like, how good is Unkalaev if he can't beat Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight in 2025, you know? How good is Unkalaev if he can't beat Jamal Hill? You know, Jamal Hill still could be a dangerous contender. You never know. Right? You know, another guy who shares the same finishing, or the same loss to Paul Craig, you know, soon to be the same loss to Alex Pereira, you know, that type of thing. So they got a lot of things in common. Khalil Roundtree, you know, Khalil's probably looking good around the time Ankalaev is going to be ready, so I think we need to see that. And, you know, how good are you really against Brazilians unless you fight a Glover Teixeira off a retirement, right? I think these are all questions we have as fans. I think we need to see it. I don't want to see no excuses, you know. There are a few other contenders I guess we could look at. Like, I'm thinking maybe we do a Mario Batista. You know, I think Mario Batista, if maybe Khalil's not ready or Jamal's, you know, he's waiting for his other Achilles to heal. I think we have Mario Batista in the back line. I think we do that. Book Unkalaev versus Mario Batista. I think that'd be fair enough. You know, sorry, it's Unkalaev here. Late 2027. I think that'd be fair. You know, stuff like that. I also think Ilia Topuria would be a good contender. I wouldn't mind Ilia Topuria, #1 contender for light heavyweight against Unkalaev. With the caveat that Ilia doesn't have to show up 205. He can just show up as the weight as he has, because he is the GOAT. Okay, whoa. I'm getting too far now, you know. But Ilia is looking like a great fighter, so I think we can give Ilia the light heavyweight #1 contender shot once he goes against Unkalaev. Obviously, striking only rules. Obviously, heavy strikes only, so Unkalaev can't throw at all. Just normal stuff that we see in the UFC. But with all that being said, I want to thank you for watching. And if you made it to the end of the video and couldn't tell this was complete satire, I think you're an absolute fucking moron. Go glaze another Cliff Dweller, alright? Nobody cares. Unkalaev's boring as fuck. If he doesn't get the title shot, nobody's gonna care. Is he the most deserving? No, alright? Ilia Topuria deserves it more than fucking Unkalaev at this point. Fuck Unkalaev. Anyways, with that being said, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you have a good day.